Hello everyone and welcome to the Melbourne Traditionalist episode 70. Today I went on YouTube and the top ad on the left, so the place where your eye goes to because we read from the top left, is an ad, as they've been for the last couple of weeks, and it says, "Meet your mature men. You can now chat to any mature men you like at datemyage.com. And I just thought, does YouTube know something about me that I don't know? Or is YouTube trying not to be creepy like the rest of the internet and follow you around with ads of things that you thought you might want to buy but didn't? Yes. Coronavirus. Yeah, you thought that, it's Christmas, we're all going to move on from COVID-19 and we'll never talk about it again. I was sort of thinking that was, well, not ever again, but, there was going to be a bit of a break from it. And now it seems that there's this outbreak on the northern beaches in Sydney. And everyone's doing what they do so well, overreacting. Queensland has shut their border to New South Wales. South Australia has shut their border to New South Wales. And Victoria has shut their border to New South Wales. So apparently people from country New South Wales can still get in and out, but not if they're from Sydney. I would check that before. I wouldn't take my word for it because it's just absurd, as it has been all year. So here's an article on news.com.au. Prime Minister Scott Morrison has addressed the nation on the growing coronavirus cases in New South Wales and tried to calm rising fears ahead of the Christmas season. Well, calming fears would have been good back in March, April, when we actually realised that this wasn't the Black Death that we all were told it was. But no, that hasn't happened, so many people still are fearful. Mr. Morrison also defended the actions of state premiers as borders slam shut to New South Wales, which has caused a resounding cry of "Christmas is cancelled" to echo around social media. It's just so extreme in every way, and we just keep getting this. I don't even think anyone's died from this cluster. It's just so over the top at every place. The New South Wales Premier has announced new lockdown restrictions for Greater Sydney, which includes the Blue Mountains and the Central Coast. All indoor public settings have been reverted back to the 4 square metre rule, and dancing in settings other than weddings has been banned, as well as all singing and chanting. Oh, well, there goes my chanting holiday in Sydney. I was really looking forward to that. But, and I just wonder, how long are these restrictions going to last? I can tell you that on Saturday, my family is having our family Christmas on Boxing Day, the 26th of December. Because some of our family work on Christmas Day, but we will be meeting. We will be having Christmas. I don't care whether hundreds of people die between now and then, which is not going to happen. And news.com keeps asking these questions. Do you think that Australians have been too complacent? No, we have not been complacent. We have been not complacent. Do you think everyone should be wearing masks? No, I don't. And South Australia has said that they're going to have a hard border between anyone from the northern beaches areas. I'm not sure what a hard border is. Does that mean every single person is not allowed in? Because I would think that when you close the border, that would pretty much be what it means. I don't even think they know what they're talking about. It is just absurdity after absurdity. Now, in Britain, London has gone into Tier 4 lockdown for Christmas. How wonderful. And so now people are apparently only allowed to visit each other on Christmas Day itself. And the Scottish government has introduced a travel ban, meaning Scots are not allowed to visit other parts of the United Kingdom. This constant fear. And we're not talking about the Black Death. Yeah. So there was a story. Now this is actually a quite a sad story. This is the youngest person that I've actually found who has died from COVID-19. His name was Peyton, and he was from St. Louis in the United States, and he was 13. And he got the infection, and basically he was at home with his mum, who was a nurse. And, they were just, as she said, his symptoms didn't seem life-threatening, and we didn't do a whole lot other than watch Netflix movies. 4 days later, his mother became concerned as Peyton couldn't continue a conversation, and she noticed that his fingernail and toenail beds had turned blue. I said, "Buddy, I think we need to go to hospital." So he went to hospital, and he died within a week. It said that his oxygen level, in his blood, was 44%, and a normal person's is 95 to 100%. So he was a very sick boy. There are some photos of him here. He's not fat. He's what we would have called in the old days big boned. Someone who was just physically large, and yeah, they carried a little bit of extra weight, but they weren't necessarily fat. But unfortunately, it seems that he was just very unlucky, and sadly, his aunt, who was 57, also died from COVID-19 only a few weeks later. So, I don't want to make it seem like people aren't dying. People obviously have died, but unfortunately that's the case with most infectious diseases. People can die from them, but it's not something that we all have to be treated like this for. Now, this is one of the consequences. This is also an article on news.com.au. Kate Middleton and Meghan Markle's royal wedding dressmaker now on the brink of homelessness. So this is a bit of the consequences of these huge economic lockdowns. The mastermind behind Kate Middleton and Meghan Markle's wedding dresses is said to be on the brink of homelessness after falling on hard times during the coronavirus pandemic. Chloe Savage was once a revered embroiderer who was responsible for the glittering finishing touches on both the Duchess's wedding dresses, but now her trade has entirely dried up. Speaking to People magazine, she said, "It's been horrific. We've had all our work literally dry up. My 14-year-old daughter is skipping meals to save on the food budget. The stress is getting to her." I'd imagine it would. Despite also working as a conservator for the National Trust, where she is responsible for 40,000 historic textile items at Tintfield House in North Somerset, Chloe's line of work has been greatly impacted by the pandemic. The 43-year-old continued, "In January and February, we started seeing a lot of our international contacts getting put on hold. Work just disappeared. People like the National Trust very quickly said they would have to postpone our projects because they knew they were going to have a massive hole in their budget. Struggling to stay afloat, mum of three Chloe shut down her embroidery studio, laid off her apprentices, and gladly accepted a government loan. Sadly, this was not enough to keep her out of the red, and she is struggling as a result. She said, "We are now in the position where we have to literally not pay our bills for the first time ever." Well, what else do? You spend half the time phoning up agencies trying to grovel your way into reducing your bill or putting it on a monthly payment or spreading it out over just so you don't get hit by the whole thing. We might make it through to the new year, but we'll then have to sit down and try and grovel with our landlord to get into rent arrears until he decides to start removal procedures. Chloe's current reality is worlds away from her life before the pandemic hit. Now, yesterday I went to a Christmas luncheon, which was very nice. And afterwards, I was talking to one of the waitresses there. She was a lovely Irish girl, and she was telling me how she'd come to Australia as an exchange student. And because she was here, she's not a citizen, she's an Irish citizen, she couldn't get any assistance. So basically she got some assistance from home, and she also couldn't work because everything was shut down. So now she's finally getting back into work and helping to sort her finances out. But she said that she was actually studying immunology, and so every lecture was about COVID-19. You know, she'd turn on the news, it's COVID-19. She'd call up her friends, they talk about COVID-19. She was like, I can't think of a subject that I want to talk about less now. She said, why can't you just give me, a subject on AIDS? That would be good. That's probably the first time someone said that. I think we'll move on from COVID-19. This week, Australia's trade dispute with China took another tumble. Things are constantly getting worse, it seems, and China is dedicated to punishing Australia for speaking out about COVID-19. Oh, I mentioned it again. And the latest is that they've banned our import of coal. Now, Australia is a big exporter of coal. I think, if not the world's biggest exporter, then we're very close to. And about 60% of China's energy is powered by Australian coal. So we actually had ships on the way to China, and China said, "Oh no, stop! You're not allowed to dock. We're not letting your coal in anymore." And so apparently there's been a shortage of electricity in China. So talk about an own goal. But they've still, as of this moment, the ban's still there. The ships are still not allowed to go into Chinese waters. Now, another thing is that what's happened is, because of the lockdowns all over the world, iron ore, which Australia is also a large exporter of, and much of that goes to China, has actually increased in price. It's at a 9-year high. So it seems that Australia has actually made up the money that it has lost when our wine, timber, barley, lobsters have been banned by China. And it seems like the Chinese left hand doesn't know what the Chinese right hand is doing. So I'm reading an article here, and it says that it's also emerged that more than 60 ships carrying thermal and coking coal are stuck off China's coast, unable to unload almost $700 million worth of Australian goods. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of ships. And to think that's they banned it this week. So that's how many ships are actually active at any one time. That's a lot of ships. Here's a question. Will you be boycotting Chinese products this Christmas? I'd like to say yes, but I must admit that when I actually go to the shops, I don't actually spend that much time checking out where something comes from. And I know that makes me a terrible person, but there it is. Now you know the horrible truth. China is just... I'm amazed. China has done as badly out of this as I think the West has with its COVID-19 restrictions. They just seem to stumble from one idea to the next without any strategy at all. There's no long-term thinking anywhere, it seems. It's, yeah. Now, this was an article that I was really shocked to see, and I think you might be shocked too when I actually read it out. This is from, again, news.com.au. Husband shock as baby's birth reveals wife's infidelity. I'm going to read the whole article. As Mark clutched his wife's hand and encouraged her to keep breathing, he felt like he was living his best life. Although the American man had also been by Anna's side for the birth of their 3 daughters, something about this time felt different. That was because after 36 long years, Mark's dream of having a son was about to finally come true. Or so he thought. As soon as the baby was born, it was very clear that I was not the father. He was clearly black, Mark wrote on Reddit. I was absolutely shocked. Not only I discovered that the child I was expecting so much was not mine, but I also discovered that Anna had been unfaithful. Heartbreakingly, until this point, Mark had never imagined that Anna would do anything to betray their relationship. The couple were incredibly close, describing themselves as best friends who shared similar values, interests and hobbies, while also raising a family together. So when Anna unexpectedly fell pregnant earlier this year, Mark never suspected for a second that anything fishy was going on. It was a bit of a surprise. She had decided to only have 3 kids. I always wanted more, Mark explained. Also, she was on birth control, and I always wore a condom since our youngest was born, but I was thrilled. So Mark was utterly heartbroken to discover that not only was he not the biological father of his much longed for son, but that his beloved wife had cheated on him. Apparently, Anna had met a man in a bar and ended up getting really drunk with him. They had unprotected sex and also exchanged phone numbers, presumably to meet up again. But Anna discovered she was pregnant before anything else could happen. Once he heard the news, he blocked her and changed numbers. She only knows his first name, which makes it pretty hard to find out who he is, Mark said. She tried to downplay and said that this didn't mean anything, that she had made a mistake and she wanted us to raise our boy together, but I couldn't stay with her. But as Mark prepared to leave Anna, another spanner was thrown in the works in the form of Anna's parents. By way of background, Mark and his in-laws have never really seen eye to eye and only tolerated each other for Anna's sake. So imagine his surprise when they offered to pay for the divorce lawyers, as well as transfer Anna's substantial trust fund to their daughters and testify against their own daughter so Mark can get custody. Apparently Anna's parents are, quote, openly racist, unquote, were furious that she had given them a black grandchild. They demanded that she erase the mistake and give her boy to adoption, which she refused, Mark said. They threatened to cut her off and disown her several times. Once they realised that she was not going to give up her boy, they did. They cut her off. After his in-laws offered their support, Mark has felt incredibly conflicted about what to do. Although he knows the way that his in-laws plan to treat their daughter isn't exactly fair, he doesn't know what else to do. My daughters will benefit a lot from this money. We are talking about mid-8 figures. This will probably lead them to an entire life free of debt, college, home, even their future kids, he said. Also, I put Anna first my whole life. I put my job first. I gave my name for her. It was the only way that her parents would accept our marriage. I am honestly filled with hatred about this whole situation, she cheating and making me think that her boy was mine. I am normally very calm and collected and think before doing stuff. Now my first instinct is accept their help and watch her parents break her piece by piece. So should I? And then it says, the names have been changed. This article originally appeared on KidSpot and was reproduced here with permission. I read that and I was stunned because I really thought. I mean, first of all, it's from the husband's point of view. I mean, that in itself is shocking. Secondly, it's supportive of the husband. And third, the parents. You didn't see that coming. I didn't see that coming. I doubt you saw that coming. And it shocks me. It shocks me. There's no line in there where they actually condemn him for saying no. You should have gone with your wife and your interracial and her interracial son. This is amazing. News.com.au, which I must say is not renowned for its right-wing opinions. That's amazing. This is more typical of news.com.au. Nadia Bodotsky, a feminist, on why she keeps watching porn. So there are 1, 2, 3 pictures of this woman, who I've never heard of, in the article, right? I saw a meme on Facebook the other day where it said a man taking a photo of an item, and it just has the item. And then it says a woman taking a photograph of an item, and she's holding it up next to her face. And this is exactly what that meme is about. There's no reason for her face to be in any of these things. It's not that she's unattractive, but she's not necessary. But there it is. There it is. And so she goes on about why she should be disgusted by pornography, but why she's not, and why she enjoys watching pornography. I just need to find this part. So it all really comes down to one sentence. It took well into my 30s to learn the reason I felt conflicted about my porn habit. It wasn't because I watched the degradation of another woman. It was because I'd been taught women couldn't be sexual and powerful at the same time, that to witness women having sex on screen was to witness shame. In truth, there are few things more powerful than a woman who's unafraid to be sexual in a world that so often attempts to silence our desires. I actually can't think of anything more feminist than that. So, sorry, one paragraph. So, this is the interesting thing, is that you would think that women would be disgusted by pornography. And obviously that's where she comes in, this particular woman. What's her name? Nadia. And she says, you know, that when she first saw it, she was like, oh, this is disgusting. I shouldn't be watching this. And you would think that would actually be women's default position. But actually, women have a very complex relationship with pornography, because I've actually been in the room and I've seen men say, oh, I'm not interested in pornography. Now, most men are interested in pornography. Some men genuinely are not interested. It does not excite them at all. But whenever I've heard men say this, the women in the room give each other a look, and the look is like, uh-oh, this guy's weird. Because women want men to be sexually attracted to them. And that means that if a man is not interested in pornography, then maybe that means he's not interested in women. And that's not normal. So they're not disgusted by pornography, men watching pornography, as a lot of us would think. But women also watch pornography. And one of the interesting things is that they tend to be a bit more extreme in the compared to the men. And by extreme, I mean they watch the much more gentle sex, and they watch the much rougher sex. They're not really interested as much in the mainstream sex. It's one or the other extreme. Now, I guess you can understand why women are interested in the more gentle sex. They are the more gentle sex. So why are some of them interested in the rougher sex? It's because they want men to be in control. They want men to take charge. They don't want to make decisions. They want men to make those decisions, to take responsibility. And that includes in sex. And in society, what we're seeing that we're constantly being told that men should not be like that. Men shouldn't take control. Men shouldn't make decisions, and they absolutely shouldn't make decisions for women. And this is a rebellion that women are having, that this is their real nature. This is what they really want. And instead of suppressing that, it's finding a way to ooze to the surface. So I think that we will be hearing about this subject more and more in the future. Now I'm going to finish on the picture that I have up, and the picture is half of a Christmas tree, and I'm going to read the bit that comes with it. Last month, a cheeky mum posted her hilarious tutorial for achieving her rather unique Christmas tree aesthetic. I've had many people ask for a tutorial video how to do your tree like this, but I think a PDF step-by-step instructions guide will be sufficient. 1. Lose the top half of your tree in a house move, preferably in April, as you don't have the opportunity to go back to your local waste collection and search through your garbage once you realise you've thrown it out. 2. Have a son who wants to decorate the tree now instead of waiting until you replace the tree. 3. Allow your son to use every decoration you have collected over the few years to throw onto said tree. 4. Sit back with a coffee for an hour in peace while your son is occupied decorating said tree. 5. This is the most important part of the steps. Do not look on Kmart-inspired homes at everyone's beautiful trees that they have created. 6. Question your life choices. Now, I look at the picture and I see many happy memories of a very Merry Christmas. And to all of you, I say Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Bye-bye, everyone.